Do you want to be the laser beam machine that blows everyone's eardrums out because you're going to be constantly firing your arc souls going every 3 seconds and shooting anything and everything in sight? Not to mention, you're also going to be amplified, so you're going to be sprinting around the map like Usain Bolt, just constantly firing at enemies. I got a build for you that's going to do just that. We're going to be starting here with our subclass. As always, we're going to be going with the Chaos Reach Super because Storm Trance is not ideal in PvE. Then we're going to be running Healing Rift. We're going to be running Burst Glide because that's the glide I like to use. If you like to use other ones, then go for that. It doesn't really matter to me. Chain Lightning because it has the lowest cooldown. And then we're going to go with Pulse Grenades because those are my favorite nades to use on the Arc subclass. Our aspects are going to be Electrostatic Mind and then Arc Soul. The reason we're going to be running Arc Soul is not because we already get our Arc Souls with Getaway Artist, but we can actually replenish that Arc Soul when we just sit in a Rift, and it's going to be the supercharged one that comes alongside the Getaway Artist, and you're going to be able to refresh that every time you put a Rift down. This will also allow you to use your Pulse Grenades freely, so you're not going to have to eat them every single time you have that grenade up, and you're going to be able to spam that to create more Ionic Traces to get your abilities back faster. Our fragments are going to be the Spark of Feedback, the Spark of Ions, Spark of Shock, and then the Spark of Magnitude. These are going to allow us to create Ionic Traces with jolting enemies, as well as using our abilities and defeating jolted targets to jolt enemies, allowing us to create more Ionic Traces. And then we're also going to have longer grenades and then increase our melee damage when we take melee damage with Spark of Feedback. In our subclass here, we're going to be able to utilize Jolt and create tons of Ionic Traces because Ionic Traces give you ability energy back anytime you pick one up, and it's going to give you ability energy to every single one of your abilities, making it a great choice. Now, when we take a look at some stats that we want to utilize to make this build even better, obviously you want to go for resilience, because if you're not using 10 resilience, you are throwing 30% damage reduction absolutely free, and then 100 recovery because you want to get those rifts back as fast as possible so we can continuously regenerate our arc souls. And then you want discipline so you can get your arc souls back and then utilize those grenades as well, because it also gives you free amplified with Getaway Artist. So what you're going to want to grab is Authorized Mods Arc, and then you're going to go with Electric Armor so you can stay amplified longer, and then Thunderous Retort so your super does more damage when you are weak. And then Amped Up so you can get more damage resistance while amplified, which is going to be all the time because we're going to be constantly eating our grenades as well as throwing them, because we're going to be getting Ionic Traces left, right, and center, making it an ability spam heaven. Shock and Awe is going to allow us to have Arc Final Blow summon a burst of lightning that damages and jolts targets while we are amplified, and then we have Lightning Strikes twice so we can get even more grenade recharge for a short time after we throw a grenade. And then we're also going to extend this duration when we get Arc Final Blows, so that means arc weapons, arc damage all the time. Speaking of weapons, an exotic that you should definitely try out with this build is going to be the Cold Heart Trace Rifle, because not only do you create Ionic Traces while gradually damaging enemies over time, it's also an overload mod this season, so you're going to be stunning those overloads, generating Ionic Traces, allowing you to just throw grenades at them all the time. And then some legendaries to bring along. I always say Riptide's a great call because it can do so much against different champions. And then for your heavy slot, the Hothead is an obvious choice here if you're going for some burst damage. And then you could also bring along an LMG if you want, or a GL, whatever you want to do. I personally like the Hothead the best. When we take a look at our armor mods here to make this build even better, here's what we're going to want to run on our helmet: Arc Siphon, because we're going to be using as much arc weaponry as possible. So we're going to want to get as many orbs with arc weapon final blows. And then you could run like a special or heavy ammo finder, because there's nothing really on the helmet that you want to throw on that is going to be as beneficial to this build. On our gauntlets here, we're going to go with an impact induction so we can get our grenade cooldown reduced when we cause damage with our melee attack. Same goes for focusing strike. When we use our melee attack, we're going to get class ability back. And then we're also going to use firepower because we're going to be wanting to chuck our nades before we have to eat them. So we're going to be getting a lot of nades back with this build. On the chest piece, Arc Resistance is what I have on. You can kind of just use whatever resistance mods you want. If you're doing the Ghost of the Deep Dungeon, though, throw on as many Arc Resist as possible because those mods hurt. Could also throw on a Reserves mod if you want. And then on the boots here, we're going to be running 2 arc weapon surges so we can get more damage with our arc weapons from our armor charges, alongside elemental charge to allow those Ionic Traces to give us an armor charge, which is going to be massive because we're going to be getting these all the time with Cold Heart and our nades. And finally, on our class item, double bomber and then a time dilation so we can get grenade energy back when we pop that rift, as well as increasing the amount of time for our arc weapon surges. So what you're going to do is you're going to eat your grenade right off the rip, and then as soon as you get into the action and start spamming enemies, creating ionic traces, you're going to be tossing your rift down to extend that arc soul duration, and then you're going to be throwing your nades. And then once you feel like you need to eat that grenade, definitely eat that, pop the rift, keep that gameplay loop going so we can get that sentient arc soul spamming all the time. This build is a ton of fun to use, and being able to get amplified for free and then just running around with longer amplified and getting damage resistance while amplified is just ridiculous, because we have so much damage resistance in the game with the 30% damage reduction from tier 10 resilience alongside everything else in the game that makes us more resilient. So this build is perfect for survivability as well as spamming your abilities. So this build is perfect for damage resistance as well as spamming your abilities. If you enjoy this build, be sure to drop a free like and subscription to the channel, because why not? It's simple, easy to do, and it helps me out a ton. If you guys want to check out some more of my content, then be sure to head down to the description where both my Twitch and TikTok will be linked. Hope to see you guys in the stream one day. Appreciate you guys watching the video. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.